Hey, how's it going, Chris?
What's up, buddy? Oh, you're in your new digs, I see.
I'm in my new digs. I set up just for this to get away
I
from
love it.
110-degree heat and finally
And,
smoke indoors.
and you're in 90-degree heat instead.
I am in 89 degrees. It's beautiful for me.
89 is still warm. I think it's 70 in here right now.
Good for you.
So we're gonna let some folks join in. We are having a few technical difficulties this evening, Ben. So tonight might be a little bit different, but we will do the best with what we got. So again, for those of you that are joining us live, welcome to Luxury Cigar Club Digital Cut and Lights. And for those of you that are watching this after the fact, thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to us below and give us a thumbs up on this video if you like the video. Tonight we have Caldwell Cigars. Mr. Robert Caldwell himself will be with us, hopefully, assuming we can get these technical issues lined out, and it should be a pretty good time. We have some folks joining in. So JJ, he's the first comment there. What's up, JJ? Welcome. Kevin's son, what's up, Kevin? Jeff, John, what's going on, John? Hey, Ben, I'm going to let you take over and just let everybody talk for a minute. I just got to go mute an iPad over here that I heard go off. I'll be right back.
Okay. So how's it going, Jeff? Who else we have? Kevin Fabbuccino, how's it going? John Sukrim. Jake is here. He's already been here a minute and did not comment about my V-neck, which is a very, very nice change of pace for me. And that's it. So I'll show you guys later, maybe if we have time, what I'm sitting in. I had to build a whole shed outside and air condition it, and just to get a place where I can sit out. Like last week, I couldn't join because it was 110, and it was just physically impossible for me to be on this. So.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Welcome, Adrian, Jake. What is that room? It's a she shed. It's a he shed. He's in his he shed. Anyway, guys, so I do see Robert has joined us here, so we're going to get him brought into the live stream here in just a minute. Of course, we're going to cover the deals that we have going on today. Purchase any 5 Caldwell cigars. It's not up there. Why isn't it up there? Purchase any 5 Caldwell cigars. You're going to get 1 free, and the freebie we have for you guys tonight is actually the AJ collaboration, the Long Live the King Lonsdale. It's Lonsdale-ish, which is a fantastic cigar. Very few of them left out there. We are doing a deal. If you purchase any 20 Caldwell cigars, you're going to get 5 free. And we're actually going to set you up with this shirt that I'm wearing here, which you can see, Blind Man's Bluff shirt. Cool shirt. Awesome deal. We have a couple more deals today with Caldwell. We have buy any 30. You're going to get the 5 free. You're going to get the shirt, but you're also going to get a cutter and a lighter. The cutters are nice. The lighters are nice. They're dual flame, nice lighters, metal. And we have a big boy package. If you buy any 40 Caldwell cigars, you're going to get the 5 free, the shirt, the cutter, the lighter, as well as this really nice porcelain Caldwell ashtray. Hopefully no one buys that so I can steal one of these ashtrays. But
and it's
of course,
so easy to get the 30 or 40 of Caldwell's cigars. There's such a huge variety of great cigars that it's, even if you did a couple of samplers of each, easy to get.
Of course, all of that's available at LuxuryCigarClub.com. Ben, what are you smoking tonight?
I am smoking a very beautiful, recognizable collaboration with AJ. Let's see if you can guess. Oh my goodness, you're not a very original person, are you?
I did it first. I'll just say that. Anyway, I know Robert's waiting for us, so let's get him in here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Let's bring in Robert.
What's up,
Welcome.
man? How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm no complaints.
No complaints. Awesome. Well, where are you right now? I hear you like to travel.
No, I'm at my house. You know, I've been kind of restricted from traveling the last couple of months, but then I was in Tampa at the start of the week, and then last week I was in Palm Beach, like local, close to Miami stuff.
Where do you usually travel? You just go to factories? You just travel to travel, or?
A little bit of everything. So we sell in 32 countries. So I travel for work, internationally a bit, and then all over the U.S. And then I go to the factory usually once a month. So I usually travel every week. So this is weird because I had about, I guess, 8 weeks or 9 weeks without traveling.
Yeah, most people did. Most people did.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time. Hopefully back to normal soon.
Yeah, we'll see.
So you're in Florida, right? That's
Yeah.
where you call home. Okay. So you're out back, staying nice and humid, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's actually not bad right now because we got a storm that's coming through. So the pressure dropped. It got a little cooler. But otherwise, I mean, it's starting to get pretty humid. It's always humid here, but I don't know. I like it. I like it hot as hell and humid.
Well,
no, Arizona's dry. I don't like the dry.
You don't like the dry? Okay.
No, you know what? Dry weather makes me very lazy and lethargic. I don't want to do anything when it's dry.
That's
dry heat just kills me.
It's the opposite for the humidity, man. With the humidity where you're all moist, I just feel like I'm always like lubed up. You know what I mean? Whenever I move, it feels really uncomfortable.
Nah, but if you live in South Florida, you get used to it, I think. Because the weird thing is you'll have guys in Miami, like big guys, like 300-pound guys that don't sweat, and it's 95 with like 85% humidity out, and they're not sweating. And I think your body just acclimates to the humidity.
Just figure it out.
I know a lot of people that are like they should be sweating, but they're not sweating. So I think
do something about it. So, anyways, thank you again so much for joining us. We're big fans of yours, and I know that pretty much everyone in our club is as well. So we really appreciate the opportunity to get a chance to know you a little better, know the brand a little better. Maybe we admittedly have not sent out as many of your cigars as we would have liked to, but hopefully we will change it very, very soon. And what we did send out, everybody absolutely loved. So good job. And I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know your brand yet or have smoked at least a few of your cigars. So I don't know, can we ask like a general question to tell us a little bit about Caldwell, how it started, the idea behind it, and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. So I started making cigars about, I guess, 10 or 11 years ago. I started a cigar factory here in Miami, partnered with Christian Aroa, and then we didn't get along. We were actually very successful, but we were just like bad business partners. And then went back to the drawing board and came up with a concept for Caldwell, which was really simple. It was just using like rare tobacco that was very aged. And then the plan was to be a really small company. And I heard you mention in the intro, we had like a broad portfolio. So what happened was our original ambition was to make like 100,000 cigars a year between 3 brands and be really small. And then our first year, we ended up selling those 100,000 cigars because we made 85,000 cigars for our first production. And they were supposed to last like 9 or 10 months. And then we sold them all in like 5 weeks. And then the problem with our model was everything that we did was around like aged and more rare tobacco. So all of the brands that we built have very low ceiling in terms of production capacity. And so those brands were Eastern Standard, King is Dead, Long Live the King. And then as we grew, we had to expand and broaden our portfolio. So now, not all of our cigars, but the majority of our cigars, there's a ceiling of around 100,000 or 150,000 cigar a year production that we can produce. And then so as we grew, we just kind of expanded that way because we couldn't go that way. And then now the production of tobacco's caught up a little bit, so we can make more cigars. But like in the beginning, like Eastern Standard, we could only make like 40,000 cigars a year. So, I mean, it was a pretty easy business concept. What I did in Miami with Christian was very like art-centric, very art-forward. And we brought that forward in this brand in a more mature way. So it's like the approach was more street art, and now the approach is a little bit more refined. And then just circling around just rare and aged tobacco. Because what happens in Central America, you have like 12, let's say, main type of tobacco that are grown there, but there's like 3 that are really, really big yield, and that's what everybody kind of uses. In Cuba, you have like 1. Honduras, you have a couple. And then so all the big brands, they produce for consistency, quality, and quantity. And then so our methodology was very different than that. So Dominican Republic, they grow 160 different types of tobacco. And by type, I don't mean necessarily like the strain, but I mean the way it's fermented, where it grows, what the processes are. So you have a couple 100-year history of growing tobacco there in a lot of unique ways, unique microclimate soils, different ways that guys have manipulated the seed over the years. So you have 160 unique opportunities for tobacco. But then at the end of the day, you still only have like 4 or 5 main tobaccos that are grown for the quality, quantity, and consistency that big brands want. So what they've always done is, okay, let's do a limited edition. What tobacco can we get that we don't use in our everyday production? We can roll 100,000 cigars, and they go after tobacco like that. And then they'll release a cigar, and it's got a Dominican wrapper. You know, they make 100,000 cigars, and then they continue on with their mainstay production. So when we came into the market, we went specifically to those tobaccos. Okay, what are these unique tobaccos that exist that we have access to that for us would be a regular production because we're not a huge brand and we can make enough cigars to fit what we thought we could sell. And then so not to go through all the brands, but Eastern Standard, the wrapper, is a hybrid of Arapiraca in Connecticut. It's grown under shade in Ecuador. We're the only company that buys that tobacco. We have a contract on the tobacco through 2024. When we bought that was a test crop. It didn't even exist. It never been out. The wrapper on King is Dead, as well as part of the filler tobacco, that Negrito, that was last grown in the 50s in Dominican Republic and just kind of vanished. And they started growing it again early 2000s. And we have that cigar with filler tobacco being also Negrito tobacco, but Negrito's not a filler tobacco, it's a wrapper tobacco. But we wanted to have it inside the cigar also. So we ended up using wrapper as part of our filler. So we have a wrapper leaf inside that cigar. And now 2 other brands have come out with Negrito tobacco wrapper cigars, but they haven't used it in the filler. And then Long Live the King, the wrapper on that's an unhybridized, so original Corojo seed, Dominican grown Corojo tobacco. And so the theory or kind of like the industry understanding on Corojo is, okay, this blue mold hit late 90s, early 2000s, wiped out all the Corojo production in Central America and the Caribbean, and everyone started hybridizing Corojo. So Corojo hybrid is Scotch and water. Corojo unhybrid is Scotch neat. So it's a very similar kind of essence to what it is, but the impact on your palate is night and day. And that was the tobacco I worked mainly with at our factory in Miami. But the Corojo I was using was coming from Honduras. And what I'd always come to understand was that tobacco only grew in Honduras because they had an immunity to the mold. And so when I went down and started blending in DR, I mentioned that to one of the guys that we buy leaf from. And he said, well, I have a small farm that we also grow unhybrid Corojo. I said, bullshit. And then I smoked it. I'm like, wow. And it was a very different experience to the Honduran tobacco, but it was a very different experience from the hybrid Corojo. So that's a unique wrapper. And that one also, I think we're the only ones that are buying that. I mean, I know another brand used that for a limited edition before we started, but now we consume all that tobacco that they grow. So, you know, kind of the ethos of the brand was that. It's just art-centric, very forward. We started, you know, a handful of friends started the business together with our ambition of being a small company and doing this kind of for fun. And then we just kind of, I mean, we just grew. So.
Fantastic, and you did a fantastic job, and a lot of it I think has to do also with the branding itself. Of course, the cigars are delicious, but the branding and the idea, the fun behind it, where it's not just, you know, has a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek feeling to it, and that translates very well, I think, across the entire brand. What are you smoking with today?
I am smoking a Davidoff Millennium Blend Corona. No, sorry, Lancero. So
Great.
Really?
I have. Oh yeah, look at that! I got my little bundle. No, that's actually. So I have my brand Lost and Found. So Lost and Found, I like to scavenge other manufacturers, you know, discontinued items like overrun, aged inventory, shit like that. So I was down at Davidoff, I guess in February, and I'm like, by the way, do you have any Millennium Coronas because they stopped that as my favorite cigar ever. And they're like, maybe. And I'm like, how about the Lanceros? So that I got some personal stash. So
I love it.
I'm on my third one today. Oh, I'm on my second. I'm about to be on my third one.
Don't go
So
through them.
What's that?
Don't go through them too quickly. You won't be able to find any more.
I know. They're making me 300 from my personal stash.
There you go.
So
tell us about the different brands. There's Caldwell, right? I know there's Lost and Found is a little project that you have, and then La Barba as well, right?
yeah. So La Barba actually started before Caldwell. So when I had the factory in Wynwood, I met Tony Bellato, who's the owner of La Barba, and I started producing cigars for him with Christian. And then when we parted ways, I told Tony, hey, I'm going to start doing this other thing. You want to come with me to DR? And then he came down. So we ended up making La Barba out of DR for him, and actually started his production before Caldwell. And then at the time, that brand was a very small regional brand. So they were, focused. He's from Ohio. They were kind of focused in that area, real small production. And it took me like 3 years of like just, wringing his neck, like, hey, idiot, come into our distribution channel and we can kind of streamline and help you out. And so we started that probably about 3 years ago, I think, that we started distributing La Barba. I think for a little while prior to that, we were fulfilling it, but then we started, running the manufacturer, the packaging, selling it, invoice, all that, just really running the back end of that brand. And that brand's exploded. Really good cigars. And so that's an independent brand, but it falls under our portfolio in terms of distribution. And then Lost and Found is weird because Lost and Found, like these, I flew into Ohio to visit Tony, and prior to lunch in Caldwell, put a cigar in his hand. He smoked it, and he just went, "What is this?" And his dad's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Well, it's this cigar." And they're like, "Well, how the fuck did you get that cigar?" Because cigar was like disappeared 10 years before, and I'm like, I don't know. I was at the factory and I'm that guy. So I just said, hey, you got any of these? And they said, yeah. And they gave me a bundle. So anyways, I had a couple other cigars. Like I just said, I got the Coronas and the Lancero, this one. So I grabbed a couple other cigars. He smoked those. They're like, you got to be kidding me. So they said, how many can you get? And I said, I don't think I can get any of them. So I called the factory and they're like, well, we got whatever, 2,500, whatever the number was of each one. Then I said, can you bundle them up for me, 10 count paper, whatever, and send them in for this guy's store? And they said, no problem. So brought them in, and then Jacqueline Sears, who at the time, she worked for us and then Drew Estate. Now she works for Weed Maps, but she came up with these really crazy concepts. So we had One Night Stand, we had Pepper Cream Soda, and then the other original release was called Lost Reserve. So she came up with this funky packaging. We put them on the shelves in his store, and he was just selling them like, paper wrap bundle, cool marketing. And then I think when we rolled out Caldwell, he was selling them pretty well. But when we rolled out Caldwell, I think like Cigar Cartel or one of these groups caught on that these cigars existed. So he calls me and he's like, man, I sold, X amount of, like, they're gone. So then we did more and then more and then more. So that's always been a separate brand. So Caldwell is distributed through Down and Back, which is the kind of parent company that oversees La Barba, Caldwell, and Room 101 until earlier this year. And then so Lost and Found's been run through a different enterprise. And then, but now actually starting in about at the end of this month, it'll be under the Caldwell umbrella too for distribution. So yeah, the only problem with California, you guys are in California, right?
No, we're in Arizona.
Oh, doesn't matter then.
We're good, man.
California. You're good. Yeah, because we have a warehouse in California, but we don't import that shit to Cali.
No, you bring it to us. We'll take it.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Yeah, so we'll have that available for you guys. The Lost and Found has only ever been 35 accounts. So it's always been real small. And I mean, the releases have gone from as little as 500 cigars to as many as 10,000 cigars, depending on what they are. And that's a lot of fun because now, I don't know what's happened this last, from like last trade show through now, but I get brands calling me and they like, it's just weird. Like I'll get a call from a company and they're like, hey, we got these cigars. And I'm like, well, what are they? And they're like, well, do you want them? And I'm like, I need to smoke them and I need to know what they are. And then they'll usually tell me what the brand was. And then I'll be like, oh shit, let me get that. And then I'll try them. And if they're good, because sometimes they're dead. Like we have some cigars coming in right now that we bought that are 17 years old, and they're fucking killer. But that same manufacturer, they sent us cigars that were like 9 years or 10 years old, and they were dead. So it's kind of the luck of the draw. But then some of them, sorry?
I'm just saying it could depend on the tobacco. Some tobacco, I mean, there's it's always like a bow. So you want to catch it when it's in its prime. And
but that's been cool because I think that brand, especially since the coronavirus lockdown, I think a lot of people went home, opened their humidors, pulled out shit that they had for a while, started smoking it. So that brand's picked up a lot the last 90 days in terms of like social media presence. And then we're having 4 to 6 guys calling a week into the office asking for it. And I'm like, I don't have any. So we have a ton that we're bringing in.
Good.
But I've had a lot of brands reaching out to me with like, old, very cool inventory. So that's fun because that was our problem. The last year and the year before, we couldn't get shit. They're giving it. I mean, we couldn't get any goodies, and then now we're getting the goodies again, which is good.
How do you think the equivalency thing is gonna affect that? Do you think it's gonna make it
every single cigar lost and found coming in? So everything that will have come in prior to the end of this month is legal for FDA purposes in terms of like it's provisionally legal, and then everything from like this end of this month forward is all grandfathered. Not even substantially equivalent. It's grandfathered shit. So we kind of repositioned it in that way. So every single cigar going forward is grandfathered, just with packaging change, because they're coming in nude bundles of 10 with a sticker instead of whatever brand it was prior.
Beautiful. Yeah, we really hope we can get some for our members. We have 36 accounts going forward. And
there you go.
And so when you get these and you sell them out, do you try to make more if possible? So like, for example, I'm just talking about the Millennium you're smoking right now. If you could use that, you would ask them to roll a new batch for you of that specific cigar, or you're only going to deal with the lost?
No, it's all aged. The only product that we ever made. So like 4 years ago, we rolled a cigar. We're releasing it at the end of the month. That's called Instant Classic. And so what happened was I was working on a blend. It got shipped to me in a bundle. I set it down in the humidor, and all my samples, when they come in, they're paper wrapped, and they go and they sit down with no cellophane. So this cigar sat down for like 6 months inside of a cellophane bundle, and I cracked it and I smoked it. I'm like, oh my God. And then I smoked some that had been sitting in the aging room, and they tasted entirely different.
Oh.
So then I'm like, okay, so it's a process called wet packing. So it was the Cubans did it. So we rolled a batch of 10,000 cigars. There's 9,000 left because 1,000 got shipped to Sweden today. Of a Robusto, it's called Instant Classic, and those are manufactured for us and then aged 4 years, but wet packed and then wet packed and then aged 4 years. So that's the only product we've ever had manufactured for us, because we've always been able to get enough shit to kind of fill what we needed in terms of demand. And a lot of these guys, like one of the companies that we buy from, we have a ton of cigars that we've been kind of in the process of purchase ordering and like scheduling out over time. And so now we're kind of looking at the end of the barrel. And I said to them, hey, we started here, we're here, and there's this much left to go, but we have a great relationship. We're getting a ton of product from you. We want to keep it moving. What else can you offer us? So they sent me a revised list. Okay, there's another 20,000 cigars. And I'm like, okay, this is great, but I need more. And then they're like, okay, well, we have cigars that are 2 or 3 years aged that are color sorted out because they're too dark or too light for our production purposes. I'm like, well, what do you do with those cigars? They're like, well, we usually like just rewrap them. And I'm like, okay, we'll just kick those to the side. So they're already 2 or 3 years old. They're darker or lighter wrappers. They don't fit within the profile, the color of the brand. Just kick them to the side and let's just sit on them for another year or something or whatever. Or even if they're 2 or 3 years old, I'm fine with that. But let's check those out and try to continue, getting cool product. Because I mean, a lot of the stuff that we get, I mean, a lot of it, some of it's just really special.
Yeah.
Some of it's just really special. Like we have, unfortunately, we're not releasing this as a as like a lost and found concept, but I sold it into another retailer on a private label. But I mean, those cigars that he got, they're like 9 years old. They're extremely expensive, very rare cigars. They were somebody's limited edition. They overran because most companies, if they make 100,000 cigars, they really make 105 or 10 because you get damage that occurs, customs cracks in the boxes. And a lot of guys back, what they do also is they make a limited edition for 5 or 6 years. They overrun it by 5 or 10,000 cigars. Then they make samplers that have like their past LEs. So when FDA occurred, they stopped doing that. So anyways, there's just some really cool special stuff that we're able to get our hands on for that. And then a lot of times it's trust because it's a handshake deal. We never say what it is or where it came from. But there's been certain times where people could figure out very easily what stuff was based on the size, or we always list, if we can lift the blend, we'll put the blend. But I mean, we had a very specific size come out of Honduras that was a barber pole. And it was a size unique to one brand. The blend info, they let us publish the blend the year of production, and anybody could have figured out what this cigar was. And it was a $20 cigar, $18 retail cigar.
What was it?
We sold it for $9. It was a Camacho Liberty. So, yeah, that was super cool. I mean, we had a fucking 10-year aged or 8-year aged Liberty, but that was good for us because we wanted to show people the value in what we were doing. Because the reason we did that was that Half Wheel had published an article that Lost and Found was buying factory seconds and repacking them. And then the idea was, okay, all these cigars are between $8 and $12 retail. So if we're buying a second, what are we paying for? And then we're throwing it in butcher paper, throwing a sticker on there. We have no cost, and then we're selling it to the consumer. We're raping people. So our purpose of that was like, here's a shot across the bow. You know exactly what the fuck we're buying. And there's a lot of inherent value in that cigar. And so from that point forward, guys were like, oh, okay, they're getting good stuff. So, and guys figure out, I had a retailer call me the other day. We had a product called Spoon. It was like a short run, couple hundred cigars, very unique size. It was a type of pyramid, but a very unique size. Retailer called me, guy out of Arizona, actually. And he's like, this is this cigar. And I'm like, I can neither confirm nor deny. And he's like, I know it's that cigar because that's my favorite cigar. They stopped making that cigar. And I got those cigars with labels on them in my humidor, in my house. And I put it next to it. It's identical. I smoked them side by side. It's that cigar. And I'm like, I can't tell you yes, but I'm glad you enjoy it. But then he's like, holy shit. Because I mean, that cigar was like $28 or $30 cigar, you know, that he's buying from me, you know, retailing it out at $8 or $9. So,
yeah.
I love that shit, though. That shit's fun because I do it for fun. I mean, it's such slow volume.
Yeah, I can see you're very passionate about this project, and it's been, you know, it's phenomenal. It's exciting. People love seeing what's coming out next, and us too. So it's working. It's working. Maybe we can come with you one time and see those aging rooms. Grab some sound.
Now I know you have another project too. Right? You have another secret project that you work on from time to time, is what I heard anyway. Is that it?
What's that?
I'm not going to say anything if you're not going to say anything.
Oh, I'd like to know, actually. You can say it.
I'll follow up with you after we're done, and then we can decide if we can publish it or not.
Okay.
So I know you're smoking Millennium right now. What's your favorite stick other than Caldwell? Is it that Millennium that you were talking about?
Caldwell Millennium Petit Corona. Best cigar ever made.
Too bad it's not yours.
That's all right.
It will
I
be.
love that cigar. You know, I'd never smoked that cigar, and I had a meeting with Davidoff in Tampa. And I used to drive to Tampa. Now I fly. It's like a 40-minute flight, and it's just easier. And so I leave the meeting, and, you know, I'd always like kind of, you know, hey, what can I take for the road type thing? And they gave me a 5-pack of Millennium Petit Coronas. I'm like, all right. So I smoked 5 of them. It's like a 5.5-hour drive from Davidoff HQ back to my house. And I just sat there and I'm just like, and I got back to Miami and I called them. I'm like, send me a fucking shitload of those things. And then they told me they were going to stop making them. And then I bought a ton and then I smoked them all. So.
And we have 300 coming in. That's good. So you're basically gonna be yours because you're gonna be the only one that has them. So
yeah, it's only gonna last them a month. It's just chain smoking up.
5 today, yeah, probably about a month or two.
So tell us about like the artwork and everything. Your brand has some of like the, most captivating artwork, and it's really edgy. It's really awesome, to be honest with you. What is it? You that comes up with this stuff, or where does it come from?
So technically it's me, but what happened was when I opened that cigar factory in Miami, I opened in a neighborhood that's called Wynwood. And have you guys heard of Wynwood?
Nope.
Maybe. Anyways, so Wynwood was like the hood, like the worst, it's like the most dangerous, terrible neighborhood in Miami. So I rented a building there. And just for a point of reference, I paid $3,500 a month for a half an acre parking lot with a 5,000 square foot building. Now they're renting that site for $55,000 a month. It's been 8 years. So this neighborhood, it was like the hood. And then Louis Vuitton came into Miami Design District, which is like the adjacent neighborhood, bought everything, like announced this huge master planned redevelopment of that neighborhood. And that neighborhood was all like art galleries and like kind of cool showrooms and like, just non-traditional fun design studios and shit. And then so those guys like got pushed out and they came into Wynwood. And so I signed my lease on a Friday. On Monday, the prices had tripled in that neighborhood. They tried to get me out of the lease by suing me out of it on a technicality, but I won. I got to stay there. And so this neighborhood became like a huge art district in Miami, but very, very, very relevant. It's one of the top art districts in the world. Now it kind of sucks because it's very commercial, but for the period of time where I was there for a couple of years after that, it was really special. And you had the top street artists in the world. And I'm not saying like some guy from Miami that put a mural. I'm saying like you'd have like during Art Basel, which is our big art show that occurs here in Miami, you'd have every country's represented in terms of artists, and they come into Wynwood and they paint these walls because it was an old warehouse district, and they'd paint all these walls and put up the craziest, most amazing murals. And some of the stuff, like there was we had like we had our building, but then we had a parking lot. So we had one wall parking lot by adjacent buildings that we had those walls, and then we had our side wall, our front wall, and our other side wall. And so we had an artist that came in. She charged like $100,000 to do a mural, and she did one for free there because we weren't asking her to do it. People they wanted to illustrate their artwork. So I got very friendly personally with a lot of really just amazing artists, studio artists and street artists. And then one of them, I said to him, his name's Evoca. And I said to him, hey man, can you help me come up with a package for cigars? So he went to cigar shops and looked at all these cigar packages. And he came back to me and he's like, man, this shit's like, I don't know where to begin. He's like, it's this fucking wood box with like a filigree on the side and like a fucking old looking artwork. He's like, I can't do anything for you. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to do that. I asked you to create your own. So he came up with I'll show the package, but he came up with the Wynwood Cigar Factory brands. So they look nothing like cigar boxes, which was really cool. And so anyways, when he showed them to me, I'm like, these are amazing. They don't look like cigar boxes. And he's like, he was kind of let down because he thought that he had failed on the concept, but it was to the contrary. It was so different that it was very unique. And then so we continued that concept going forward. So I had a really good relationship with artists, and then we'd work with them to create the packaging. So now I kind of choreograph everything, and I say, hey, this is what I want to do. And then they designed the cigars kind of based on what I have in my mind, I guess. So let me see if I can find the product. But yeah, that's where it comes from. I mean, it's very like not for some reason I'm having a hard time finding this shit. But for example, I mean, this was like the cigar factory. That was inside.
Wow.
That's a roller's table.
Make it big, Chris? Can you
make it big? Yeah. Can we see it one more time, Robert? That's crazy.
That was some of the roller station. Let me get a couple more.
So as far as the Caldwell and
here's the rollers working. It was just a really cool project.
The mural's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was just cool shit. This was the front of our building.
awesome, man.
Crazy shit. And then here's some of the packaging that I was talking about.
Oh wow, that's really unique. Okay,
Yeah.
I've seen some of this actually.
Yeah.
I love it.
Very nice. As far as the blends for your brand, are you basically the only one that decides on them?
No. If they're lighter cigars, it's me. If they're fully bodied or Maduro, I have a little panel because I can tell if a cigar is good, but my palate really leans towards mild to medium cigars. So I have guys, big ring gauges too. If it's a big ring gauge, if it's a strong cigar, or if it's a Maduro cigar, I don't trust my own judgment. So I have a handful of guys that'll smoke them and confirm with me that we're in the right direction and kind of help me through that process.
That's always good. That's always good. And can you tell us the story about how you came to do this with AJ?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because AJ. Wait, I got to show you one more mural I had. Shit was amazing. I don't know if you. Wow.
There we go. Oh wow.
It's called Lost Lovers.
Lost Lovers. That's amazing.
Yeah, there's too much glare, but it's amazing. So the AJ thing. So I went to Nicaragua. He's like, bring me one of each of your cigars. I want to try it. And I said, okay. So I get to Nicaragua. He smokes them all. He's like, nah. And he told me, he's like, I don't like any of your cigars because they don't have flavor. And I'm like, well, you fucking smoke Nicaraguan cigars all day. You blew out your palate. You can't taste how good they are. So anyways, AJ ended up getting a cold. And then I guess the only thing that he had that was like truly lighter was my cigars. And he smoked them again. And then he called me and he's like, man, this Long Live the King and King is Dead are really good. And I'm like, thank you. So I go back to Nicaragua with Matt, and AJ gives me 2 packs of cigars, and I smoke them, and they were really good. And I said, what are these? And he said, this is my interpretation of your 2 blends, but using my tobacco. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, if I had to come up with like not the same exact cigar, but if I had to come up with like a profile matcher based on what I could do, this is what I did. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. So then like a year or 2 later, we were talking about those cigars, and I'm like, I mean, that's a great concept. Instead of a collaboration, it's something that you made for me kind of as a gift for fun. Let's do a production and sell them. So we did that. So it's really cool because it's just AJ's interpretation of my brands.
Beautiful.
So those are done. We sold them. I think we have one size left. The size, it's like a Lonsdale kind of extra that we have some left of. That's the other thing too. He shipped me. There was supposed to be a very small quantity, so I ordered half them in front for the show, sold them out at the show, and then when he sent the rest of the shipment, he sent the amount in half. So I got 1.5 times what I ordered, and then we didn't know what to do with it because we didn't want to look like we were lying and made more than we had ordered. So then we just slowly kind of like leaked them out.
Well, they're very popular. I like the AJ representations. We love a lot of AJ stuff here, but I like the originals as well. I think out of the Caldwell line, the cigars I gravitate towards most are the King is Dead and Long Live the King. I like the smaller ring gauges, like the Diamond Girl is an amazing cigar. But I also, my favorite stick from your line, because I smoke it all, but I tend to prefer like a slightly lighter cigar as well, is the Anastasia.
That's my favorite.
And it's such an amazing cigar. I am blown away by it, and you don't hear about it anywhere, which is unique to me because when we got our big order from you when we first opened with you guys, I was just smoking everything, right? I'm like, I'm gonna smoke all of it. And I came across that cigar, and I think I called Ben while I was smoking on my back patio. I'm like, dude, this cigar is ridiculously good. And I've probably smoked through 1.5 boxes or so since then.
Yeah, that's my favorite cigar. Do you smoke the one with the blue secondary label or the green one?
The blue.
If you find the green one, It blows the blue out of the water, in my opinion. Everybody else likes the blue one better, but the green one, it's the same cigar. The wrapper on the green one was like 16 years old when we made the cigar.
What do you mean if we can find it? Send us some.
They don't
They exist somewhere. I know they're lost and found. Go do your lost and found thing.
We made 70,000 cigars. They went into 30 accounts and it was done. And then we switched to the blue one.
Well,
So, and the reason you don't see it a lot, that cigar is, we only have it in like probably 45 accounts nationwide. It's really small.
Well, we're one of them, and we're grateful for it because it's a beautiful, beautiful cigar, and yeah. So anyway, I also like this one a lot too. The King is Dead, or yeah, but the AJ version. I get a lot of citrus on this cigar actually, which I've told to people, and they're like, "What citrus?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I taste citrus on this cigar, and it's like, it's unique. I like it."
Yeah, that cigar is really good.
So, so the guy that did the boxes, the first set of boxes, the street artist, he didn't do these, right? He
did Long Live the King. King is Dead. He did, but that's all computer generated. And then he did Eastern Standard.
Okay.
And then Savage is done by an Italian artist called Pixel Pancho. That guy's a badass. And then Anastasia's a kid from Peru called Jade Rivera. So they're all amazing artists.
Here, Kevin is asking an interesting question. Does the name come before the artwork or vice versa?
That's a fucking good question. That's my favorite question. So what I do,
congrats, Kevin.
I come up with a name. I have like a list of brand names, and then I have a list of size names. And then when I smoke a cigar, I correlate it to a brand. So I smoke it and I'm like, man, this has to be this brand because it somehow fits in my head. And then the size correlates to my size list. So like Eastern Standard, that cigar had to be that brand. So I didn't come up with a cigar and then make a brand. I didn't have the brand artwork done. I had brand name Eastern Standard.
You had to match them.
Yeah, and then I had the names like Corretto, whatever, Cream Crush. I had all these like list of names, and I just like attached the lines to the names that worked. And we don't do that with all the cigars with the brands that like the sizes have unique names, but in the beginning we did. And it was just like a list of brand names, a list of size names, and then when you'd find a cigar that fit, somehow it makes sense in your head. Like you feel like this cigar should be called that, and then we just connect the dots.
No, that's
it for art.
Yeah, no, I love it. There's another question. We were just talking about the Anastasia. What's your favorite size of the Anastasia?
Corona,
Robert?
all day. Corona and then Churchill. Corona, Churchill, Robusto, and then the last one's the Toro. I don't smoke.
The Corona's the Cartel? No. Opera. I don't remember.
Cartel should be Robusto. Opera is a Toro.
Toro, yeah, okay.
I forget actually. Fuck me. I always say Corona.
I mean, don't worry about it. The Corona is the best one. No, I love that stick.
Caspia, it's called.
Okay. So you really like the small ring gauge stuff then, don't you?
Love it. Yeah. And I'm getting worse and worse because I Corona Gorda was my size forever. Now I look at a Corona Gorda and I'm like, fuck, that's a big cigar. And then the worst thing from there was I started smoking, like I had a cigar that I was using for Lost and Found. And I had like 4 or 5 of the packs that were broken. So I had them at my house and I love this cigar. And I was kind of secretly glad that they were broken because they're so good, but I secretly would rather have sold them also. And then so I had these cigars, so I'm smoking them every day, and they're 43 by 5 1/4. And then I started smoking from there like 41, 42 ring gauge by like 4 1/2. And then now I look at the Corona and I'm like, man, that's a big cigar. So
yeah.
That's why on a 5-hour drive you can smoke 5 cigars. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
So I think RG must know you a little bit or something, because he asked a really specific question here. Do you have a Cigar Dojo Boothie Noodle Bowl tattoo on your arm?
No, he didn't know me that well.
Okay, I was gonna say he either knows you or he's just coming up with some weird stuff, but that's good to know. So what, I mean, like if you see a lot of factories, you see a lot of brands, you see a lot of things coming out of these factories. What's a name or a brand that we should keep our eyes open for that maybe not a lot of people know about right now? Something really new, something really unique that's coming.
I have no idea.
That's fine. I don't either. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm bad at that. I don't know. This is the factory that we work with. I mean, one of the small brands I'd say. So the factory that we work with for most of our production, Tabacalera William Ventura, the son of the owner, Henderson, has a brand that he sold in Europe for a long time. It's called Adventura, with a partner, his guy's Swiss guy, and they launched in the U.S. at the last year's trade show. Those cigars are very good. And that brand's coming up a lot. But that's the only reason I mention is because it's on my radar because I'm connected in with them. But I mean, I don't know.
Okay. No, I love it. What about any new collaborations?
I've seen them pop all over the place.
Yeah.
We should probably get some samples, try them out. They're good.
So what you do a lot of collaborations. You've done some Room 101, right, with Matt. You've done the AJ stuff, and there's something else too that I can't remember off the top of my head. Any other
Drew Estate, All Out Kings?
Drew Estate, All Out.
Anastasia's collaboration with Carrillo.
Carrillo, that's right. That's a Carrillo stick. So what? Anything else coming down the pipes? No.
We've been approached by a lot of companies to do them, but I kind of feel like that horse died. So we didn't invent it, but I think we perfected it. We did a lot of them. And I like doing it, but I mean, our point of doing it wasn't just to come up with like a collaborative cigar. It was like, it has to have a purpose. So, All Out Kings, we don't make cigars in Nicaragua. I thought that, okay, if we're going to do it, we do it with Drew Estate, and do it that way because they're experts on Nicaraguan cigars. That's what they do. Carrillo was just kind of circumstance. I was with him at his factory. He showed me the wrapper of Anastasia. I'm like, what the hell is this? He told me what the wrapper was, how old it was. And I was there actually to try to make inexpensive cigars with him. And then we made samples with those. And the first cigar I ever smoked in my life, a long filler, was a Carrillo cigar when I was like 12 years old. So that was very cool. And then the Room 101 stuff, Matt left the industry. He wanted to come back in. He's like, I want to do it with you. I want to do something. And then AJ kind of just fell into place because AJ wanted to do something with me. And then Matt wanted to do something with me. And then Matt wanted to do, and then, so we ended up launching the T and Hit and Run. And then, of course, AJ approached me with a King is Dead, Long Live the King by AJ concept, or cigars at least. So all those things were very organic and they had a unique position in our portfolio. But I mean, outside of that, to just do one, I mean, if something came around that made a lot of sense, I would do it. But I mean, I'd have a hard time figuring out what that would be.
So how did the collaboration of All Out Kings come about? Was it like, well, I guess you kind of answered that. It's just the experience around that tobacco, really.
Well, yeah, but so we were on our second year trade show, and or maybe we were on our first year. I think we were on our second year trade show. I can't remember, but I'm walking on the plane, and Jonathan Drew's sitting in first class. I was sitting in the exit row. And he gets out of his chair and he does like this thing like this to me. And I'm like, okay. So I go in to sit down. And when I come off the plane, he catches me at baggage claim. And he's like, oh, whatever, talking to me, cool. So he's like, I'm going to come by and see you at the show. So he comes by and sees me at the show. Talk for a little while. He's like, let's get together in Miami. Because as soon as he came to my booth, like everyone noticed he was there. And he's a conspiracy theorist. And so he's like, I don't want these people looking at us and this type of shit. So we met up in Miami. He's like, I want to do something. I don't know what. Why don't you come up with what you want to do? And I'm like, I mean, well, what are you talking? You want to distribute my cigars? You want to make cigars? What do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. You tell me. And then, so we started talking again a few months later. And then that was right around when the Swisher deal happened because there was something like, something's going to happen. It's going to stop me from being able to do anything with you right away, but I still want to do something with you. So we got to put it on the back burner for a little while till the dust settles because something like this type of shit. And then like 2 days later, Swisher, news comes out. And then so we regrouped after that. And then he's the one that came up with the concept. He's like, you, Willie, and I should collaborate and make something together. And then, so I was in charge of the branding and then co-blending the cigar with Willie. So I came up with the All Out Kings concept, and then, went and worked with Willie. And then Willie, 80 to 85% of the blending probably was Willie. I mean, he did all the heavy lifting because I didn't know where to fucking begin with that tobacco they have. I tried to remake my cigars using their tobacco, the Nicaraguan tobacco, and it was like the lightest, the lightest Habano tobacco they had available to me in that factory was stronger than the strongest tobacco that I worked with in DR. So I was just like, the fuck. So, I mean, I couldn't even get like the gears going on anything. I had to have Willie really he just had to, I feel like, okay, he cooked the meal and I seasoned it or some shit. I like sprinkled with salt and pepper and shit on it because he was just like, this and this. And I'm like, man, that's amazing. And once I had something to like work with a little bit, I was able to like add some finesse to it maybe. But Willie really, I mean, he just really did that. So
good. Which we also hear you love cooking, right?
I do.
Is that like a
cooking.
Serious hobby of yours?
What's that?
Is it a serious hobby of yours, or is it
not really serious? I mean, I'm naturally a good cook. I like figuring shit out. I like going out to a restaurant. I eat something. I'm like, I can make that, or I can make it better. I don't like to read recipes. I don't like to read instructions. So I just try to like figure out how they made it, and then experiment and make shit or make it better. So I really enjoy cooking. I'm kind of like an old soul. I like cooking. I like reading. I don't have a TV in my entire house. I don't watch TV. I read books. I read lots of books.
What do you read? Like what kind of stuff? You like sci-fi or?
I like reading historical biographies and autobiographies. So I have 3 types of reading. So in the morning, I read like art books, art theory. I read architecture, like industrial design. I read anything that's kind of like mechanically artistic in the morning. Or I'll read books on like furniture design, shit like that. I don't know why. I think it's interesting. And then during the day, I always take an hour or 2 during the day to read like business books. So I'll read like Harvard fucking business school. I get like the Harvard Business School Journal and shit. Read those articles. They have a lot of different books on like different types of management and business. So that's like my like painful reading during the day. And then at night, I read business biographies and autobiographies and historical books. But I read like 5 hours a day, every day.
That's
I read
great.
I read two to 3 books a week.
That's fantastic.
So
I try to read 2 pages a day. I read it somewhere. If you read 2 pages a day in a book, then you end up reading 2 books a year at least, which for someone that's kind of busy, that's at least, that's the minimum that you want to do as far as that goes. But yeah, I wish I had 5 hours to do it a day.
So I don't do social media. When I do it, it's only cigar related. So I consider that work. So I schedule social media. So I'll have a half an hour in the morning for Instagram and Facebook, business shit. Don't check my phone all day. News articles I read in the morning and I read them at night. I have zero entertainment. Like I do gardening and shit. So I don't have a lot of people burn free time on mindless tasks. And so, for example, if you go, or today, great example. I went to the bank this morning. I had a meeting at the bank to do some wires and some bullshit. So I get to the bank, I have my meeting, I sit down. A lot of people just grab their phone and just kind of do this. I bring my book in with me. I sit down. So I schedule some of it, but then some of it's just organic. Or in the morning, like I wake up at 5 also. So I wake up at 5 in the morning. By 5:30, I got a book in my hand. I read till 6:30. I exercise. I'll read a little bit more, and then I check my emails at like 9. So I kind of build the time in to do it. And then I don't have, and it's not necessarily every day. Like, I'll go on vacation. I'll read at night to go to sleep, but I don't do movies. I don't do Netflix. I don't do TV. I don't do social media. And if you remove those things from your life, you got 5 hours a day.
You're my new spirit animal.
You really are an old soul, and I mean that in the best way possible. So it sounds like you like history a lot as well, right? I mean, does that influence? I mean, because a lot of your branding is very, it's historical in a sense. It's modern, but Anastasia, Last Tsar, it reminds me of that history.
I would love to say that was a cause, but when I created those brands, I wasn't a reader. That's a new thing, like the last 3 years.
No.
But I do feel like, in a general sense, if you read a shitload and you read the right stuff, you're much more well-rounded and your understanding of life is a little bit more intuitive. Like you just get shit a little bit faster. And then you can also rationalize and understand things quicker.
So what's the book? If Ben's gonna read one book this year over the next 6 months,
furniture related.
So I think some of the best books that are like generally just good to read, easy reads, and also relevant for like a business person, Richard Branson, any fucking book he's written. Any book he's written. He's a very like just thorough, poetic, easy to read, fun reading, and that guy's a gangster. And all of his shit's like just you're just like, what the fuck? This guy didn't build one company, he built 300 companies. 300 companies that are worth, at least whatever, $30 million a pop. Like the guy's been very, and I think anybody who's a business owner, things like that are very important because it shows you the persistence, like the creative side, the endurance of what you have to do in life, that type of stuff.
And the fact that there's a system in it and it's not just a fluke. Some people can succeed very, very well just by doing one thing, had one great idea or managed to, I don't want to call it a fluke, but, do it by basically stumble their way through. But when you do it, when you repeat it 300 times, you know that there's method to the madness, and it's interesting to poke in. And he's one of the most interesting characters.
Yep.
Around regardless. So I'll pick something from him. That'll be my. I'm usually more of a sci-fi or Stephen King, Dean Koontz type of read. Also a little bit of mindless entertainment to some degree, but that's my escapism to the degree. But I also
that's a good word.
Netflix.
Good word, man. I like the word.
Escapism?
Escapism. I like it. So Adrian asks, will there be a Luxury Cigar Club exclusive blend or Vitola ever? I hope so. One day, maybe.
We're really big.
You guys tell me. We can do something.
Let's do it. Sign us up on the dotted line, and we'll read a book together after. The last book I read, I think, was Moby Dick, if I'm being completely honest. In high school, I read a lot in high school, and then I got into college. I stopped reading. I just couldn't do it, man. It was a nightmare.
No, and I was a terrible reader. Like I just like a book would take me a year to read. And then I got like, I don't know what happened. So I stopped having cable and I had Netflix, and then I felt like Netflix just fucking sucks because it tries to get you addicted to everything, and I don't like that bullshit. So then I cut that out. And then I naturally detest social media, like as what a platform for business. Fine, you talk to your fucking mom on there, whatever, get it. But like this, like look at me bullshit, like all this garbage shit. It's just like it's the end of the world. And so I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, what else is there to do? I mean, you could like knit and shit. So I just started reading a lot. And I mean, I have other things that I do. But in terms of like downtime, dumb time, and it's weird because like I found, because I mean, I never was big into social media. My brand might be present, but I was never big into it in a personal way. But like, let's say 5 years ago when it was less like addictive and weird, I caught myself like getting caught in it a little. Like you sit there and you look at it like ass and titties on Instagram or whatever for like 2 hours, and you're like, I just wasted 2 hours of my life. And I started realizing some of that stuff. And then I think that caused me to like shun it to the detriment of my company, because we should have a better social media presence, which now we're trying to improve. But I mean, I hated it so much that I just kind of pushed it out of my life completely. And then you just have time to fill then.
And it changed so much. Even when you're talking 5 years ago, it was better because you chose who your friends are. You would see what they're talking about by order or very randomly. And if you don't like someone, you unfriend him. If you want to add someone, you just see it on your feed. And then they engineered it to a point where it's just like a repeater bot. Like you will, if you like something, you're just gonna get stuff that is similar to that. So all your friends that you don't see any content from and you can't like it, you'll never see it, and you only get the same content over and over regurgitated, and it really is pretty terrible right now. And I'm talking specifically about Facebook, but all of its affiliates.
I'm actually happy to hear that there's someone else that thinks slightly like I do. I got rid of Facebook, like 2 or 3 years ago now, because I found myself doing the same thing, like sitting when I could be doing something, and I'm just like, I'm this. And so my only social media presence is for the business as well. We've built our business almost 100% on social media, so it's hard to put it down for a minute. Like if I'm going to be unavailable for an hour or two, it's like, Ben, I need you on the Instagram or vice versa. And I think it pisses Ben off a little bit too, because like anything Facebook related, I don't even have an account. I'm like, Ben, can you do this? He's like, just get an account, man. I'm like, no, I'm not. I can't do it. I can't get sucked back into that. But that's interesting. I think more people are going that way too, because it really is like you have friends that live in the same city as you, or family that lives in the same city as you, but your qualification of spending time with them or communicating with them is like a Facebook message or I saw this picture on Facebook, and it removes some of the personality, give me a good word here, Ben. I don't have a good word. My dictionary.
Terrible with words.
Yeah. No. So you like to cook. Is there any specific type of food that you like to cook? Like
I like to cook Italian food.
Okay. You make homemade pasta and all that stuff?
I don't make homemade pasta. I feel like it's not worth the effort. I mean, homemade pasta is better than anything in the world. That being said, the amount of fucking work that goes into it's not worth it. It's like 10 or 15% better than like dry pasta. So it's noticeably better, but it's just not worth the effort. So, but yeah, I don't know. I like cooking, and I mean, Italian food's my shit. I love it.
Yeah, me too, man.
Anything carbs.
What's that?
Anything with carbs for me. Italian food is really the best.
Yeah.
And Asian for the same reason.
Asian's amazing too. I cook a lot of Asian food. I make Indian food. I make all sorts of shit.
So Bourbon Junkies, which is really cool, guys. Bourbon Junkies has a really nice YouTube channel. If you guys are into bourbon, whiskey, there are a couple of really cool guys over there. We talk to them pretty often, and they're getting into cigars a little bit. And Bourbon Junkie says he had an All Out Kings a couple days ago. He bought several tea today. They were amazing, and yeah. So for those of you that are watching, go check out Bourbon Junkies on YouTube. Good guys. You Ain't Down bought 10 stogies. Thank you. You Ain't Down. You'll enjoy that. You'll get some free sticks with that. Adrian says the LCC exclusive stick could look like a book. The box to the LCC exclusive stick could look like a book. Maybe a book on one side and a cell phone on the other side, because Ben and I don't read apparently very much. But that'd be interesting. RG wants to know, who would you love to collaborate but you haven't? Like, so anyone, if you could pick someone, I would say who's alive now or who was alive that you could collaborate with, who would you collaborate with?
That's a tricky question. I mean, in terms of like, so my answer is this. For the reason of understanding better what I do, because I don't understand it as well as many others. There's a guy named Daniel Nunez that worked like forever for Vargas General. With him, he's not a big name on the consumer side, but he's a big name on the back side. Or like, Eladio or somebody like that from Davidoff that just like one of those fuck you blenders. So not a cigar personality or brand owner, but like to be able to work with a guy like that and learn. Because I used to like, and I still do, but I used to spend a lot of my time in DR just sitting with my mouth shut and listening to a lot of these old timers, like how they talked about tobacco and like they give away a lot of secrets, among a circle of friends. So I think somebody like that I could learn a lot from would be my favorite. And that's what I love with Carrillo too, because Carrillo, I mean, working with every time I go to DR, whether or not there's business, I try to visit him. I haven't actually in a year, to be fair. But until about a year ago, it's like every trip I just go and hang out and just learn and learn and learn. So somebody like that I think, has that level of knowledge that I'll never have.
So traveling to those countries a lot, do you speak Spanish?
Fluently,
yeah.
Not from growing up in Miami. And not only do you speak Spanish, I speak Miami Spanish and I speak Castellano because my wife's from Spain and she doesn't understand Miami Spanish.
What is Miami Spanish?
Garbage. Gutter. I don't know. Actually, so Miami Spanish would be like, if you're thinking English, it would be like somebody from Virginia. No, that's too good. Well, let's say like Georgia, but not Atlanta, where there's like, you can hear something and there's something like not right. And then like Caribbean Spanish, like the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and then like coastal Colombia, that shit. They speak like how somebody from Louisiana swamp would speak English.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then a Spaniard speaks like how like a Midwesterner would speak or some shit. Where it's like, I mean, shut the fuck up. Like they have like my wife, she's like, nobody speaks Spanish correctly. I'm like, you're a minority. I mean, you're from a country with like 60 million people or 80 million people that speak Spanish this way, and the rest of the world speaks Latino Spanish. But they will not understand what the fuck you say unless you say it their way in Spain. So, which is very interesting. So now I have a weird hybrid Spanish, I think. But at one point, actually, the two most neutral Spanish spoke in the world in terms of non-accent, and for me, my correlation would be Washington, D.C. Like people from D.C. have no accent, would be Bogota, Colombia, and Mexico City, Mexico. Both. And so all of the, like majority of the actors, soap opera people, TV presenters, sportscasters, they're from those two cities because they have a completely neutral accent where they can broadcast that in any Spanish-speaking country throughout the world and people understand them. So anyways, when I started doing business with my business partners, they're both Colombian, we go to DR and these guys would speak to us in Spanish and my business partners are like, what the fuck did they say? And I was translating between the Dominicans and the Colombians. They had no idea what they were saying, either one. So
that's awesome.
I had to translate for my wife from my Colombian friends because she didn't understand them.
Well, listen, man, we appreciate having you. We're going to do one more commercial for the sale before we close up here. Remember, guys, luxurycigarclub.com. You buy any 5 Caldwell, you get 1 free. Take a look at any 20 Caldwell cigars, you get 5 free in one of these Caldwell shirts. Purchase any 30 cigars, you're going to get the 5 free. You're going to get the shirt. You're going to get a lighter and a cutter. And if you buy the big boy box, the 40 stick, you're going to get the 5 free sticks. You're going to get the Caldwell shirt, the lighter, the cutter, and the ashtray, which is really nice. Guys, we have some really nice bundles as well on our website that I built. I think I call it the King's Bundle or something, where I have Mad Mofo, I have Long Live the King is Dead, and The King is Dead by AJ Fernandez, all bundled into 1 pack. They're really, really amazing bundles. I don't think they're expensive at all. It's worth taking a look at.
We have Spain La Barba. Is that included in this?
Yeah, if you guys want to pick up some La Barba as well, we'll put that under this as well. La Barba's on the site as well, so check that out. But we appreciate having you. I just noticed your title is Big Brother is Watching. That's hilarious.
They're always fucking watching.
He didn't put it.
They're just letting you know, right? They're just letting you know, hey, we're watching. But we appreciate having you. I wanted to ask a question that's pertinent to our business model. What are your thoughts on the subscription Cigar of the Month clubs that are popping up all over the place and that are out there?
I think they're super cool because the irony of it is that like Thompson and Cigars International and these companies have had these clubs forever, right? And so like Cigars International has like a 20,000 member deep monthly subscription. But The problem is they're always selling like mainstream brands, or maybe they're pushing in, some private, you get 5 cigars or whatever it is, but what is it? And so a lot of these cigar clubs, they're getting very cool shit. And so cigar clubs that we work with, the subscription stuff, they're usually like, hey, what do you have that's discontinued at the factory level or in Miami? Or do you have any one-off sizes? Or do you have anything that's really aged? So they're kind of coming at us, not so much in a regular production way, which both helps and hurts us as a brand because we want to get our regular shit out there. But they're also helping us out to move stuff that we might have stopped. So, I mean, I've had a couple where I'm like, actually, I made 600 of this cigar in this size that I was going to do like for an event, and I never used them there at the factory. I just got to throw bands on them and bring them in. So it's a good resource for us to be able to have those relationships. And then for the consumer, they get something fucking cool. Because that's a cigar, maybe if I would have remembered to bring it in, you get it at an event with a box or something. So, but I think they're very helpful because I think the approach is different. And I think that the style of product that they're attempting to showcase, and everyone's different. There's one club I know that only wants brick and mortar, like the guy's kind of procuring what he would find to be like smokes that fit within his group. But the question is always like, can my guys buy this from the stores? And if the answer is no, he doesn't want it. But then the other guy wants it. So you have the guys that are selling like brick and mortar friendly everyday cigars, but kind of procured. And then you have the guys that are going after the more rare shit or the more exotic shit, or like, hey, let's roll a production of like a one-off. But I think they're very cool. And I think that they're very advantageous to brands because those groups have a huge following. Like we did a cigar with Privada Cigar Club. That was like a special size lost and found, like a brand thing. And man, I got like 300 messages from guys wanting to buy that cigar. I'm like, we don't make that cigar. So again, it helps and hurts. Like we don't make that cigar. So shit.
Let's get something on the books for Luxury Cigar Club. We like to do everything too. We like the unique stuff. We like to provide something that people can go back and buy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that being said, I think the smartest model for a cigar club, if you're gonna put it in a subscription, have it for fucking sale. Because if you put it, if you buy 1,000 cigars from me and you have 500 members, or if you have 500 members, buy 1,000 cigars, put 500 of them into the membership, and then put 500 for sale exclusively on your site. That way, there's an outlet for them to buy product that they like. And I think that's a big shortcoming of some of these guys, because like that story I just said, guys love the cigar. There's nowhere to get it.
Nowhere to get it.
Overrun it a little bit, get a little bit extra, but I think it's very cool. And I mean, our relationship with all these guys has been like, some of them we work more with than others, but it's very friendly. And I think it's a very cool, it's just fucking cool. I mean, it's cool. And the other thing too is if you're a consumer, it's nice not always walking in. Like, here's a great example. Every time I go to my closet, I grab a pair of gray jeans. I have 45 pairs of pants and jeans. And I have like 7 pairs of gray jeans. I like my gray jeans. Get a gray jeans, get a shirt, whatever. Usually collared shirt. Today I was in the warehouse. And then I fucking go on my trip or go to the office or whatever. So then I started kind of I'm a lazy guy. So I started being lazy. And I told my wife, I'm like, just pack my bag for me. And she started grabbing like my brown pants and like my dark blue jeans and shit like that. And I get to the hotel and I'm like, where the fuck are my gray jeans, But then I wear my blue pants and I'm like, man, I'm glad I wore these blue pants, because if not, what the fuck? So people get set in their ways, and people a lot of times, they're not going to reach for something maybe that's outside of what like their mind's telling them. And I think that the subscription service kind of like puts it in your hand in the way the old school tobacconists used to put it in people's hands. So in terms of like that catered approach, I think that's very cool. Because for example, I'm a manufacturer. If you like my cigars and I had a club, you'd buy cigars from me because you know that what I like, you'd like because you like what I make. That's an easy one. So it's the same, getting the trust or getting the confidence with a cigar club. Hey, these guys, try it for 90 days or whatever. Man, I really like these cigars. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going with it. And I think it's a fucking awesome thing. The funny thing is, when this stuff started really happening about a year and a half ago, I'd say is when they started getting steam. There was a lot of manufacturers that wouldn't sell the cigar clubs. a lot of them. And now I'm like, you fucking morons. I mean, what better way to organize? And here's the thing. You get 500 members. They get my cigar. 300 guys are probably going to post it that month. Or 200. They're going to post a sampler. They're going to post them while smoking it. They're going to be whatever. So you're getting, and so we as manufacturers, we've always wanted to get cigars in consumers' hands. This is like, here's the cigars. They're in your fucking hand. You have no choice. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm 1,000% for that shit. I think it's amazing.
Awesome.
Long story short.
Well, again, we're about at the end of our stream here, so we appreciate you taking some time, man, smoking a couple sticks with us and giving us some insight into you and what you do. We love to connect our members to the brands, and it's massive to us. It's very important to us to keep the community built and growing. So thank you for being here with us. Ben, you have anything else you want to say?
Thank you. It was a great talking to you. You're a very interesting dude.
Thank you. Likewise.
Do it soon again. I hope everybody enjoyed watching us and grab some of these great deals that we are offering. Thanks to Robert providing the great swag. And that's it. We're gonna be herfing afterwards. You're invited to join us if you want. We'll send you a link. I'm sure that some of the guys will be very happy to meet you in person, but absolutely up to you if you have time.
Yeah, I'll finish this cigar. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I got time. You know,
All right.
normally I put a cigar in an ashtray and then just fucking, that's it. But this cigar is too good.
Oh, you can't do that with that one, man. You can't do that. So everyone that watched, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to us. Next week, we have Roma Craft to back with us. Danny Vasquez with Roma Craft will be live with us again. Another amazing boutique. So that's Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to tune in. Make sure to subscribe for the notifications. For everyone that watched, thank you, Robert. Thank you for joining. Ben, thank you for being and helping here with this in your new he shed. It's nice to see you not sitting outside now. So that's really exciting. What's the temp in there now? What do we get it to? Oh, it's still exactly the same. Exactly the same. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We appreciate you. And members, we got the herf starting up here in just a second, so we'll see you soon.